Here we go, live in another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We are on episode 132. This is our opportunity every week to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dreams. As always, I'm your host, Andy Weins, and today we are joined by Charles Rose on the show. Charles, how are you today?
Doing great, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So we'll start with a real softball question. Why are you here?
To see what I can do to support your listeners ultimately.
Okay. What type of support do you offer? What's your jam? What's your specialty?
So I'm a coach. I had a tech company that I built and sold, and then I had an epiphany that I hadn't done my inner work. And number
Mm.
one, that would have made my life a lot easier. And number two, what do I want to make my career now? And that became supporting people as an executive coach. So
I like
looking at where do we get in our own way in our
that.
business.
Okay. Well, our listeners are mostly junk removal companies and home service based companies, a lot of owner operators.
Yep.
Probably a majority of our listeners are somewhere between 250 and a million top line revenue.
Right on.
So, in that world, where do they fail? Because I've been there. I want to hear from you. Where do they fail?
So I think for me, it was that what I didn't do was go back and look at, first of all, foundational question, why am I doing this business? What's my
Yeah.
purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So what do I want to get out of this? Obviously, we're all in this to make money, but what other aspects of of my life does this serve? So is it because I want to, a more fun income or something bankable, or what's my reason for doing that? All of your goals line up once you get a sense of your purpose.
I like that. I recently read Dan Sullivan's book, 10X is Easier Than 2X. And he
Hmm.
talks about, he quotes somebody else because that's what a good writer does is quotes a bunch of people, right?
Sure,
The
sure.
difference between plagiarism and research is the number of people you steal from. Um, just paraphrased. That's it. Right, you steal from one person is plagiarism. Steal from everybody is called research. Anyways, Dan
Love
Sullivan
it.
in his book talks about somebody else, so I'll reference Dan Sullivan because that's where I heard it. Right, the
Cool.
four freedoms: freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships, and freedom of purpose. And so that's what it comes down to. So that's why I have people on the show and I answer. It's pretty the same thing, right? Why are you
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Because the running joke is my show prep is how do you say your last name and hit go because I want us to have a real genuine
Sure,
conversation,
sure.
right?
I love that.
Um,
I absolutely
I
love that.
I was talking to a guy earlier today. He does marketing for speakers and for
Mhm,
authors,
mhm.
and I had a great conversation. And I'll more than likely buy from him and bring him in to do some marketing work for me. I told him
Nice.
I love spending money with people where I can clearly see the value. The
Yes,
dollar amount is insignificant when the value is there.
yes.
For the first, so I was your ideal client years ago.
Mm,
I convinced people and myself, more or less, I convinced myself, and then I said it out loud to people. The first
yep,
4 years I was in business, that I was unemployable, uncoachable, and unmanageable.
there we
And two
go.
of those two of those three things are true. I am unmanageable,
Right,
right, and I am unemployable.
right.
I was in a marketing meeting like 2 hours ago, and my brother was there. My brother's not involved in the business as much. We were talking
Mm.
with his new marketing company, kind of our origin story, how we got here today. And he's like, yeah, Andy's like uncoachable and unmanageable. I was like, I can be coached. I'm
Yeah,
definitely unmanageable.
yeah.
Definitely not gonna. We ain't gonna
Perfect
manage this
entrepreneur.
crazy train, right? Exactly. Over time, I realized that I was in fact coachable.
Yeah,
Coachable, right? That was it was a time and money, right? I looked from a math standpoint, right? I can spend more money and less time learning the same lessons. I'll
yeah,
learn the lesson maybe with
yeah.
enough experience, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
it might cost me a lot more. It'll certainly cost me more time, and it might cost me more money had I not paid up front. So I got a business coach about almost 5 years ago now. CEO Roundtable plus he's
Love
the
it.
coach every month. I
Yep.
love it. I'm a huge fan of business coaches. I do have there are business coaches I don't in fact like and
Mhm,
I do not recommend. So for
mhm.
you, are you affiliated or who are you affiliated or associated with, or are you?
I'm not actually. I
All
was
right,
trained
that's
by a woman in San Francisco who was independent. She built her practice up over decades, and I just really resonated with her particular voice. It was very practical while also
mm,
being like looking at the foundation. Some of this brings in early psychology,
mm,
like the thoughts and feelings we formed about life when we were little. And it's like, as a business owner, it's useful to go back and look at this. We can see that's where my sense of being, you know, an imposter came on, because maybe my dad said something like, you're going to suck at this, or you're not going to be good at this. And maybe I've remembered that for 30 years. And then, I'm applying that. Well, that was something maybe he just said when he was in a bad mood one day, but I stuck on that and, ran with it. And it's like, I need to let go of that and get back to, what do I want? How do I make this the best business I can? And ultimately enjoy it, because we want this to be for the long haul.
Yeah, it's. I really like the fact you dig into psychology. And the reason I asked you if you were affiliated, I strongly am against a lot of the coaching programs where it's cookie cutter and the coach
Yeah.
is merely a facilitator of the material. It's like,
Oh yeah.
fuck, I can do these worksheets myself,
Yep.
right?
No.
I am all about individualized coaching. I love the fact you brought up psychology. A lot of people will not do the inner work, right?
Hmm.
They'll constantly be solving the symptoms and not the problems. I wrote a book. I
Yes.
wrote a book on psychology 2 years ago, and
Wow,
so
man.
I lean in heavy. The book is called Words Fucking Matter. Lean into
I love it.
yeah, right. So there you go. That's the response I get every time, and it's your brain, retrain your brain to use language that serves you. That's
I
it,
love that.
right?
I love
And
it.
so I often do not spend a lot of time in the why are we here. It's more
Hmm.
like, oh, we're in the kill zone. What do we need
Yep.
to do to get out of the kill zone?
Right. Right.
Right? I can talk about me. Like me, yes, I have a wounded inner child that says I'm not good enough. Okay.
Hmm.
I can spend loads of time and energy and money, talk about that to somebody.
Hmm.
Or I can say, hold on, when I think I'm not good enough, what is data that disproves that? And how do I move forward? And let's fucking go. And the more I do
Yep.
that,
Yep.
the better off I am. And as business owners, in humans, unless you're super narcissistic, we
Yep.
all have imposter syndrome,
Yep.
right? Like narcissistic people do not have imposter syndrome because
Exactly.
they can do no wrong. The rest of us,
Right.
we have self-doubt. I mean,
Exactly.
there are times I get on
Exactly.
this show, I'm 132 episodes into this, and I'm like, how the fuck am I doing? Like, who's the
Yeah.
guest? What am I doing? Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of Taylor, before I forget, we're gonna do it right now. Taylor, put in the show notes who's on next. Otherwise, I get to the end of the show and I'm like, hey, coming up. And I'm like delaying.
Right. 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 Right.
I
I
even
love
told
it.
myself over the weekend, hey, tell Taylor to put in the show notes at the end who's our
Yep.
next guest coming up. Because to tease the next show. So even you,
Yep.
actually, I teased your episode. Like this Charlie guy, he's a mindset coach. Listen, like there was right because
I
again,
love it.
imposter syndrome. So lean into it. Like, okay, hold on, where am I failing? And
Yeah.
fix it and be honest about it versus wallowing in self pity.
Totally.
All right. So already I'm already the other thing is I did zero research on you. Because a lot of time yours didn't look terrible. Because I get a lot of people that want to be on this show where it's
Yep.
like, hey, let me tell your audience how great I am and how they can buy from me. And I was like, cool.
Right.
How about we give first? Let's
Right.
focus on the value.
Exactly.
Let's focus on
Exactly.
giving, and
Yep.
then you can have your call to action at the end. And I would argue when you present a compelling story and value, people will
Definitely.
find you. I mean, people
Yeah.
find me.
Absolutely.
Actually, fuck, I'll just announce it now. I got out of consulting this last
Hmm.
year because I realized I was solving a lot of holistic problems, a lot of different people. And
Yep.
now I've had several customers this year, junk removal and non-junk removal, where I'm doing fractional CFO work for, and I
Yep.
really enjoy it
Love it.
because I get to
Love
touch
it.
operations and do the fractional CFO work. And the reason it strikes with me is I do the show here, and I talk about hillbilly math often,
Hmm.
and that's where people struggle the most. And I'm like,
Yep.
cool, that's what I'm good at. So to
Yep.
my listeners out there, end of the year, getting ready for next year, getting ready for tax prep, getting ready for pro formas,
Totally.
reach out to
Totally.
me. I am starting to take. I've been taking clients on all year. I haven't talked about it on the show because I've
Yep.
limited the amount of people, and now I'm leaning into it because
Good
I've
for
given the
you.
value. I know my fucking numbers. I can figure your numbers out. I can tell you where you're going, and I
Yep.
can also tell you how to get where you want to go. Right? Because they're doing nothing will get you here. Oh, you want to
Yep.
go somewhere else? Cool. Let's talk about that. So I'm more the operational, analytical, hard and fast data. What's your coaching style like? What do you focus on?
Intuitive. It's getting to know the person, getting to know what's coming through the door. Your book is that cuts at the essence of it. Our words matter because they're our thoughts. The thing that I do is I start by looking at what is this person's habitual thought patterns like?
Mm.
And
Yep.
then because your thoughts produce your feelings, and then your thoughts plus your feelings give you your actions.
What are we? Wait, are we doing Stephen Covey right now? Let's. I'm gonna pull you. No, I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up my slide deck right now
Yeah.
because we're already here having a good time. We'll pull up my
Yeah.
slide deck from what do you call it? From my keynote I do, or my workshop, I do
Yeah.
workshops, keynotes, all the above.
Oh,
And no,
cool.
that's it. I love the fact that you're talking about that. So one of my first slides talks about Covey, right? And
Yep.
my
Yep.
argument, actually, it's my second slide. That's how where it is. How do I get? Hold on, let me find this real quick. All right. So see, this is where Taylor comes in. Taylor's dope at technology, and so occasionally I technology by myself. Let's see if I can do. There we go. Oh,
Hey,
nope,
man.
right.
Nice.
There's something. There we go. Let's see if I can go.
Well done.
Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. This may or may not work. I have no idea if that worked. Now I have stuff all over the
Oh,
place.
there's
All
a
right, we'll
cool
just leave it like
quote.
that.
I like
There
that.
we go. All right. So this is Covey, right? So a thought you reap an action. So an act you reap a habit. So a habit you reap character, and so a character you reap destiny. So my argument here is simple. Words govern thoughts. This statement is incomplete. We must first sow a word, right? And I say that because in the agreement, the book, the 4 agreements, and now the 5th agreement, right?
Yep.
They talk
Love
about
that.
words are symbols, right?
Exactly.
And when you speak when you have a native language, only those that speak your native language will understand the symbols you're conveying.
For sure.
What ends up happening is when you learn a second language,
Mhm.
it's considered when you start to think and that language, you have now you are competent. You start to think in those words.
Yeah.
When you start
Yes.
to dream in that
Yes. I've
second
always heard
language,
that. I love that.
that is mastery of said language. Okay. So with that, how much control do we have over our thoughts? Well, we do in the words we use. So I have the thought that pops up that says, "Hey, Andy is not good enough." Right? I guarantee you it's from my father, right? There's a
Sure.
piece
Of
of
course.
that. It's a
Yep.
piece of being the small kid. I was the smallest kid in grade school. I got picked on. I had bullied. All right, we could get all that shit.
Sure.
Or I
Sure.
can say, hold on, Andy is not good enough. All right, let's tear that apart. Who the fuck am I good enough for? Who right? And what area am I lacking?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm struggling in this area. What can I do about it? Right? If
Yes.
I'm struggling in
Yeah.
financial literacy, it's like, cool, what can I do about it? Oh, I could probably listen to a podcast. I can watch a video. I can
Yep.
attend a lecture. I can go back to college. I can read a book.
Yep.
Oh, so it's not that I'm not good enough. It's
Yep.
that I can and I will, right? Commitment statements. I
Yes.
will go obtain an information that I seek so
Exactly.
that I can combat that Andy is not good enough, because that wolf will live within me forever. I will
Mhm.
always have that imposter syndrome. You can't take it out back and shoot it and kill it. It's going to crawl its ass right back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, a
Well,
spade's a spade,
because
baby.
ultimately it's not looking for, you don't have to shoot it, you just have to love it, because that's what it's asking for.
Ooh,
What
that's
happens
interesting.
is when we form our core beliefs, it's because there's some part of our environment that was not 100% loving. And I don't know if anybody's childhood was 100% loving.
No.
But the idea is when you're born, you're born and your mother's like, "Oh my God, you're a gift, you're a miracle, you're perfect." There's no, like, not good enough isn't even, it's like, yeah, you could have a little more hair. Like, there's nothing your mom, says when you're born other than, "I love you, you're amazing, you're
You're
perfect."
perfect. Yeah.
So we need to remember that there's a part of, like, we're always that way, but our performance might not be up to par in certain areas. We might need to learn more skills. We may need to, do better and learn and apply ourselves, but we still get to be loved innately no matter what. That's where the whole concept of not good enough comes. It's just a construct that we come in. So one is forgiving the past. Another is starting to come up with new thoughts and new words. And that's the idea of affirmations. But affirmations can feel a little woo-woo sometimes, or a little like, I'm having a delightful day today. And it's like, well, no, but I need to do something that actually resonates with
Actually,
me.
yeah. It has to actually, do the thing, right? It has
Yeah,
to actually slap. Yeah, affirmation sounds very clinical, so I
it
call
sure
them
does.
battle cries or mantras. Like
Love
my
it.
thing is
Love it.
do the fucking thing. My
Yeah.
my challenge is in the OODA loop. Are you familiar with the OODA loop?
No.
All right, shit, I got, you know what? I just got to pull my PowerPoint back up. Here we go. Observe, orient, decide, act. Right? Observe,
Okay.
orient, decide, act. It's the OODA loop. And in the OODA loop, which was created in 1953-ish,
Yeah.
1950s Korean War, they had better planes than us. The
Hmm.
MiGs were better than what the Americans rolled out. However, they got stuck in their doctrine, right? They said if the plane does this in dogfighting, you would do that. If they do this, we do that. Right. So
Right.
now they took
Right.
away all that decision making from their fighter pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Americans were like, cool, we got to come up with a system so that
Mm-hmm.
we have a plan, and yet
Yeah.
it's flexible enough for our fighter pilots to recognize what to do in the moment.
Yes.
So the OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, act. What am I doing?
Love
I
it.
hit the wrong button. Here we go. We're going to share a screen. I'm going to press the buttons again. Let's try this. Let's see what that does. Let's press this button over here. So I'm doing it better this time.
Hey, man,
Share,
you got it.
hold on. Share the wrong
It's
screen.
coming.
Nope. Oh, hold on. We got to share the wrong screen. We got to remove this. See, we're learning tech. See, I can say I used to be bad at PowerPoint and presenting,
Yeah.
and now there we go, nailed it. See, I
Love it.
figured it out.
Love
I
it.
figured out how to get it to do the thing and the stuff, and I moved you over here, and we've got 3 screens.
StreamYard Pro now.
There we go. We're fucking killing it. Anyways, here we
Love
go.
it.
OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets stuck somewhere.
Yes.
Right? I talk about this. So action coach. I'll lean on action coach. I will give them credit where credit is due. Action coach is one of those coaching programs that's kind of cookie cutter. However,
Yep.
they do have this thing. They have this great thing. The OAR BED, right? The BED is when you're living below the line, right?
Mhm.
That is blame, excuse, denial. Everybody has a predisposition. I'm a pre-blamer. That is my default fighting position. No different than fight,
Right.
flight, or freeze. I'm a
Yep.
flyer. That's my pre-default. I'm capable of all three, and yet I have one that's preset. All right. That is a theory that I've thrown out there, and no one's argued with me, so it's gospel on this show. All right. Same thing here. Observe, orient, decide, act. Everybody has a spot on this chart
Yep.
where they get stuck. So observe what's going on around the world around you. Orient. This is kind of what you said earlier, which is based on what's going on, how does that affect where I'm going, my
Mhm.
North Star, right? How does
Mhm.
it, the stimulus or the stimuli, position compared to what I hope, dream, and desire in the world,
For sure.
right? Decide what I'm going to do about it because of that, act accordingly. Now, people get stuck along the way. Some people are
Totally.
oblivious. They just live their life. They're not even observing. Other people don't orient. I recently read in a study, 84% of Americans do not have a goal. I
Mhm.
was like,
Mhm.
what?
Yep.
83%. This way, it was 83. It was 83, 14, 3. That was right. 83% of Americans do not have a goal. Of the 17% that do have a goal, 14% of them never write it down. Only 3% of Americans have a goal and write it down.
That's a
How in
great
the hell?
statistic.
How the hell are you gonna orient yourself
Exactly.
when you ain't got a goal and you didn't write it down,
That's it.
right? So
That's
for
it.
the people out there, the 3% of people, you're probably good on orient. The other
Yep.
97% of people, without a goal and without it written down, you're going to struggle in orient. Because how are you going to decide when you're getting an orient where the thing is versus what you want in this world?
For
Decide.
sure. For sure.
Step number 3, make a decision. Based on the
Mhm.
information you have available, make a decision. Finally, act. Do
Mhm.
the thing. So there's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, why my battle cry is do the fucking thing. So where do I die? I die at act. That's where I
Mhm.
stop. I've observed this is the world going on with. Oh, I orient. This is how this works for me. I decide this is what I'm going to do. And then
Yep.
I give myself credit for coming up with the answer. I solved the equation. And
Yes.
then I move on to the next thing without actually changing, right? Like observe. I'm out of breath. Orient. Need to lose weight. Decide. I'm going to join a gym. And then I'm going to go eat some cheese because that sounds delicious. And then I observe how fat I am again, right? Because I made the decision to join the gym and
For
then
sure.
actually join the gym. And so for me, one of the things I did is I hired an integrator in my company because I know that's where I struggle. I'm great at casting vision. I'm great at making decisions. The follow through, I'm not interested in. It goes with my predictive index of Maverick. I do not celebrate wins. Once I come up with the answer to the test, I move on to the next thing. Same thing here with the podcast. I talked about having a podcast for years.
Yes.
It wasn't until I got a co-host, my buddy Casey was like, hey, we're going to do this podcast. I go, all right, let's have a podcast. Once he decided to have the podcast and we act on it, now I got a weekly podcast. I've had it for 2.5 years. Once I
Love it.
made the action, now we run the play every week.
Yes. Yes.
Because habitually, I fail to act. I know that about myself. So there you go. There is your. There wasn't even a question. I just got on my OODA loop. But what you said, what you were talking about, you were talking about what people obviously habitually do and
Yes.
catching them in patterns of behavior.
Yes. What you were saying about the 3% that take the
Mm.
actual time to do the work, that really tracks with my coaching practice, because what it's about is, in all the different realms of your life, stopping and observing, and noticing. And it's like, those are the first thing we do in my kind of core tool. It's called the clarity process, to get clear on a particular area of your life. First thing is getting clear on, well, what are all my subconscious thoughts? What are my expectations about this? What do I want to happen? What am I afraid of happening? Then that feeds into creating your purpose. Why am I doing the thing? What's my why? Simon Sinek's really put purpose on the map in the last couple of years.
Start with
Love the
why.
guy.
Got to start with why.
Exactly. And then all your goals are a function of your why. All
Yep.
your goals support you getting to live your why.
Well, and so this is I talked about there a little bit ago about CFO work.
Yes.
I'm working with a couple of clients, and the first time we sit down, right, we do a segue. We kind of get the juices flowing. What's going well, right? And then I always start with, well, what are your goals,
Love
right?
it.
And they're
Yep.
like, well, how much money do you want to make, right?
Yeah.
I want to make
Yeah.
this much. What do you want to make in 1, 3, and 5 years? Okay. What does your life look like? Do you have a
Yes.
house? Do you have kids? They go like, let's just build this life. Okay. Now
Sure.
that we have goals, now we can talk about cash flows. Now we can talk about how much you work. Now we can
Yes.
talk about how much you retire. We start with, well, how much do you want to save for retirement? Well, we start with the goals. I start
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
non-numerical values, the non-quantitative stuff, so we get to
Yes.
the qualitative stuff. Let's talk about the
Yes.
quality of your life, and then I can figure out the numbers that go with it. Because
Exactly.
again,
Exactly.
that's that orient piece. When you have goals and you can express your goals, your coach can keep your orientation, keep your focus on what
Yes.
you actually said you want. What did you say you wanted when you
Yeah.
have unlimited time and resources to think about it? Because like someone texted me last week, 2 weeks ago. They said, "Hey, what do you do in winter when junk removal slows down?" I go, "I
Mhm.
do junk removal." They're like, "Well, do you ever do plowing?" No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
because that's not my goal. My goal is not to
Yeah.
have a landscaping company. My goal is
Right.
not to plow. There was something else. They're like, "Oh, will you do this?" No.
Yeah.
Will you deliveries? No, because it's not junk removal.
Yeah.
As soon as I put an ounce of energy into that thing, I'm no longer focused on junk removal. And then I might as well be Andy's. You fucking call, we haul, and do whatever you want, right?
Yes.
Not
Yes.
Camo Crew responsible junk removal. Part of that piece of
Yeah.
responsibility is we are responsible enough that we are really good at the one thing we do, and that's what we do.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
do not deviate from the things we do. And
Yeah.
yeah, we might have a slow week. We're not going to deviate. We're not going to start hauling like Christmas tree delivery.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Christmas lights. That's what it was. Someone said, "Do you want to get Christmas lights?" And I go,
Yes.
"No, no. There's no part of me wants to hang Christmas lights. That sounds like ladders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
now
No.
if you're a gutter cleaning company, Christmas lights. That's a one deviation, right? You're already up there. Me, Christmas lights, not a chance.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. So orient based on goals.
Without a doubt.
So where do you see your clients? Where do you see them struggle the most?
With competing sides of themselves. Like, sometimes a lot of the times, these business owners will care a lot about their employees, but maybe their employees aren't doing what they need to be doing for them. And so it's this tug of war between, how do I be harsh on my, or firm with my employees, but then also I care about them. They've kind of become friends and I feel a little responsible for them. So, like, that was something that came up this morning in a session.
What's the fix?
So the opportunity is walking the line for both, but remembering, first of all, you're running a business. You're not responsible. This person happened to have, he has children. So it's like, you are responsible for your children. You're not necessarily, you're assuming that your employees are adults. So let's lead with that. And,
Yeah,
you can have
that's a hell of an
compassion.
assumption. Yeah.
You can have, empathy, but at the end of the day, it amounts to an agreement of, I'm going to do this and you're going to pay me that. And let's keep people responsible and accountable.
You know, as you were saying that, the thing that stuck with me, I'm a alliteration, rhyming scheme, make it simple, fucking hillbilly math kind of guy.
Yep.
Firm, fair, friendly.
Yes.
We are
Yeah.
not friends, right? We are not
Yes.
equals, right? People are like, oh,
Yep.
you should treat people equally. No, I got
Hmm.
one guy that'll work 5 days a week and wants 60 hours. I got another guy that wants to work 4 days a week and likes his day off in the middle of the week. I'm not
Right.
gonna treat him
Right.
equal,
Right.
right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
the old, the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. That's
Right.
bullshit.
Right. Right.
The platinum rule, right? Treat people the way they want to be treated, right? So first off,
Yep.
it's not fair, right? And I like what you made a course correction there. You said harsh, and then transition into firm,
Right.
right?
Right.
Harsh is undue. Harsh is punitively,
Yeah.
right?
We.
Intended, right?
Yeah.
Harsh, right? And I
Exactly.
know this. My mantra this year, my battle cry this year, or my what'd you call it? What did we call it earlier? The my affirmation. My daughter
Your
calls them
mantra. Your
affirmations.
mantra.
My mantra, yeah, you called it affirmation. I was using your
Yeah. Yeah.
verbiage. Is strong enough to be soft. That is
Yes.
my mantra this year because there's many coffee cups that have been broken in my building on the account of me angry throw against wall, right? Because it's better than punching
Yeah.
people, right?
Amen. Yep.
Okay, again, we're deveating, right? We went from wanting to choke people out to throwing coffee
Right.
cups,
No, you're
trending
working
the
with
right direction, right?
humanity right there.
We're trending, right? And now I'm at the point of when I get upset, I send a text message or an
Yeah.
email to one person who's our integrator.
Love it.
And if you think, like the other day, I walked up to him, I go, I just saw Jashan on his phone. If I see him on his phone again, I'm firing him on the spot.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Don't give me the opportunity to fire him on a spot. And then I walked away because
Yeah.
my response to Jashan,
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago, I saw him on his phone and
Yeah.
I go, why are you on your phone? He goes, I got a call. I go, then you need to get off my fucking clock. I pointed and he left.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, it would have been better had we had a coaching conversation,
Sure. Of
right?
course.
So went from wanting to choke people out to coffee cups being broken to telling employees to get fucked to now I just tell somebody else that is much more responsible than me.
Well,
That's the
yeah.
key. And and to the point is, it's not my strength. It's their strength. They're the integrator.
And
They
that's
make
big.
shit happen.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
So we're trending the right direction. At least I am. I'm, no coffee cup fatalities last quarter. So that's a
So
that's
then
a
what's
metric.
I mean, if I can ask a question, what's the next step beyond that? What's the evolutionary
The company runs better without me. I have no the evolution. So I happened to walk in and he was standing on his phone yesterday.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
yesterday. Um, I continue to communicate effectively to the leaders that are in charge, and I continue
Perfect.
to cast my vision. Hey, here's my
Yeah.
vision. People aren't walking around on their fucking phones. There's my vision. Go make it
Well, and what
happen.
this is as I see it, this is about building trust. You're learning to
Yeah,
trust your
yeah,
people.
yeah. Correct. And that's the thing. It's trusting that leadership group, right? And then they can trickle down. And that employee's he's one of our newer employees.
Yeah.
And the other thing is to your point of what I'm doing, I am currently writing shout out to 505 junk removal and the Bolt Accelerator.
Mm.
Barry gave me a how to be successful at 505 junk removal. So he gave
Hmm.
me basically it's a 10-page document that they use to say, hey, this is what we're all about. I founded
Love
the
it.
company. This is what A, B, and C players look like. Here are
Yep.
our values. Here's what right looks like. Here's what wrong looks like. The choice is yours.
Yes.
Read and execute accordingly. So shout out Barry and the boys over there at 505 and the Bolt Accelerator. I took that document. I
Hmm.
did the old Control F, find and replace. I changed 505 to Camo Crew, right? I changed out their values for our values, and I'm rewriting that document. So
Love it.
now, when we have a new employee like a Jashan, we say, hey guys, we talk about our values. We do. We
Yep.
talk about how we evaluate. Here's a no shit, tangible, read the thing. That and
Yeah.
also fundamentals. So those are the two things I'm actually rolling out this year
Love it.
because now an employee comes up, we use culture wise. Are you familiar with David Friedman? Is it Friedman? High
I'm not
performance
actually.
culture. Okay, again, shout outs for days here. So this document here, this is what they have as their fundamentals. We'll see if I can get it to focus. Maybe not. There it is. Okay, so high performance culture. This is the 30 things, 30 individual fundamentals, right? that make them successful. And it's in
Hmm.
business card size, right? And then it pulls out. Anyways, I'm making one of these. I have 50 fundamentals. 50 fundamentals in our company. You read these fundamentals, you will be successful.
Love it.
You read them and you don't follow them, you will fail. And we will start and end the year with as many coffee cups as possible. Right? There will be 0 coffee cups, and I will cast my vision proactively versus
Yes.
reactively.
Yeah.
Right? So there you go. And I can stand here confidently and say that and give myself a little dopamine, a little, hey, attaboy, because I did the thing. I wrote the fundamentals. I took the thing, right? And I'm
Yes.
casting the vision. I'm not saying, I got a great company because all these fucking things I've done. No, I'm saying this is what I'm going to do. And we will see what the results have. Because you know what? Maybe the Jay Sean's of the world, maybe he's listening. I don't know. Maybe the Jay Sean's of the world don't want my values. They don't want to
Hmm.
live by our fundamentals. They don't want to be employed here at Camo Crew Junk Removal. Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal, name change. And you know what? That's his choice. I want to give people enough data to make choices for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's what it
And it's
comes down
great that
to.
you lay out, here are our principles. Here's what we believe in. Here's what we live for. That mean it's communication, and then it's, in practice, like putting in a correction. Like, no, this is not in alignment with our values. You need to go do your call over here. And
Yep.
so we
So,
train.
so a couple of our employees recently were like, "Hey, why is this guy making more than me? I've been here longer." And so
Yes.
one of the things I've said since day one, I worked in unions in the past. I was in a
Hmm.
union. I worked as a supervisor, non-union supervisor at a union shop.
Hmm.
I've said since day one with this company, and we're rolling out a new rubrics of why people get paid what they get paid. And we know it. Like we as a leadership team know it, and we've never rolled it out to the guys. So now it's very clear and obvious. This is
Yes.
why. Nowhere in that entire rubric will it have time and grade, time and service, seniority. I don't give a shit. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've
Yeah.
been here 6 months and you're better than the guy that's been here 6 years, you're getting paid more.
Yeah.
You get paid for the value you bring to the company today. Now, the guy that's been here 6 years, he probably brings a lot of experience, right? So he
Sure.
might get paid more because he knows more and he does more. He's
Exactly.
not going to get paid more merely for that reason. And so in that case, yeah, be very, being very clear on who we are and who we're not. Because on
Yes.
the flip side, the employee that's been here a month can say, oh shit, I can get promoted. I don't have to wait 6 months or a year. No. Can you do the thing? You can, if you can run the truck, be a crew chief, I'll pay you. I need people to be crew chiefs.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
need you to be here for 6 months, and then we'll talk about it. That's that old good old boy logic. I'm 40 now. When I got in the workforce, that's what it was. It was all about seniority and whose ass you kissed. I,
Right. Right.
we do not run the company the way that way. It is archaic thinking in today's age.
Definitely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you focus on the psychology. What else do you focus? You get the why,
Yes.
the goals. Then what do you do when people hit roadblocks? How do you overcome that with your clients?
So we're looking at, when someone hits a roadblock, we look at, okay, once we've established, their fundamentals, like your fundamentals document, when something is opposed to it, when something comes up, it's like, let's say someone has a crisis where they're having trouble believing in themselves. It's like, okay, well, you know where this started, you know what this is all about, you're actually okay. So what can we do to shift this? And there may be some practices, or there may be some tools, getting clear, releasing the past, visioning the future. So it's sort of past, present, and future with people. When people first come through the door, it's like, okay, what are you dragging with you? And then it's also, hey, what do you want to work on now? Like maybe your business, your trash removal business. So how do we get more clear? How do we get understanding your why? And then once that feels stable, we start looking at, well, what would you want in 5 years? What do you want to do when you wake up one day? It's like, what would be your best day possible? Where you're like, I don't even know if this is possible, but you have to leave room, obviously, for that possibility.
Yeah.
Someone comes in the door and they're stressed and they're having an issue. It's looking at, okay, well, what is the principle that's going on? Somehow, if you're not living your purpose, you're going to be stressed.
Mm-hmm.
If one of your key points in your purpose is just to have peace, and you're not having peace today, then you're going to feel that. So it's, how do we get you back to yourself? How do we get you to trust yourself more? Is usually a lot of it. How do we get
Ooh,
you to believe in yourself or be willing to try something a little different? Go outside your, comfort zone.
I love last we have a new guy. He's been here 6 months. He's our integrator, so he's my number two,
Yeah.
and he has not spent a lot of time in operations yet.
Mm.
Um, and it's not one of his strengths. 6 buckets of
Yeah.
business, not one of his strengths. And I need him to be competent. It's a strength of mine. I love operations. I eat it, sleep it, breathe it. Right.
Sure.
I need
Sure.
him to be competent enough to answer the phone, book jobs, move things around, and he fundamentally can do all the individual things. And now we're
Yeah.
going to put it all together. And so
Right.
last week we were talking about our schedule for this week. So our operations guy is going to be. He's also our sales guy, so he's going to be at an event all day.
Yeah.
And our sales guy's name's Mike. Mike's like the other guy's name is Andrew, not to be confused with me. Anyways, he's like, well, as long as Andrew is comfortable in operations,
Mhm.
and Andrew was in the room, he perked up. He goes, "Oh, I used that word," and I was like, "Ooh, comfortable? Yeah, I don't give a fuck if you're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Comfort is the enemy of progress." P.T. Barnum said that. So
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
I hear
Yeah.
the word comfortable, I get twitchy, and I was
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
"Nope, trial by fire." And Andrew laughed. He's like, "Mike, why'd you have to bring it up?" Right? Like it is. I
Mm.
go, "I like to operate with trial by fire." He goes, "Oh, I know." Because I'm like, "Yeah, I might figure it the fuck out." Right?
Well,
Like
we do learn by doing. Absolutely.
yes. And the demand is there, right? It's you create scarcity, which is
Yes.
safety, create scarcity of safety and knowledge and information. And within that scarcity creation, that's when you get intuitive. That's when the
Mhm.
creativity kicks in. I remember I was doing it was like 6 months ago. I was doing a tour here at our facility. And I tell the story about how we went from a 700 square foot garage to a 27,000 square foot facility.
Oh my
And the
God.
woman said, big jump. Oh yeah, we were like, oh, we'll never fill it up. 6 months later, it was full of
That's
every good
amazing. What a
idea.
story.
Yeah, tons of good ideas. Anyways, the woman goes, "Do you want a bigger facility?" I said, "No, I want a smaller one." And the group
Mm.
of 15, 20 business owners are kind of like, "Why do you want a smaller facility?" I said,
Mm.
"Because with a smaller facility, it would drive innovation, it would drive
Mm.
efficiency. When we had
Yeah.
700
Yeah.
square feet, we were very, very efficient.
Right. Right.
We got 27,000 square feet,
You put
we
stuff
became
anywhere.
really efficient. So what we
Yeah.
did last year, one of the things is we eliminated 2 rooms, 5,000 square feet between the 2 rooms. We eliminated them from all of our day-to-day operations. And guess what? We got more efficient. Right now, we go down back to a 700 square feet. Well, that's foolish.
Yes. Yeah.
However, let's and you know what? We all got more efficient. Right.
Love it.
That's one of the things now that we got. Hopefully, Elon Musk in charge of the Department of Government Efficiencies. Right. He was talking. He's like, hey, instead of actually, Kevin O'Leary said this. Kevin O'Leary said this, but I was thinking of Elon. Kevin O'Leary said this from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful. He said, okay, instead of saying, okay, what's your budget? No. What money do you need? You start with $0. Instead of starting with $1 million budget, how are you going to spend it? No. You're starting with $0. What do you really need? It's like,
Mm.
oh, I need this, and this. Like, no, that's a bad idea. Not getting the money. What's next? Oh, that's a good idea. All right, we'll fund that. Right?
Mhm.
Start with
Mhm.
$0 and work your budget up versus, well, we got $1 million budget. That's the biggest difference between small business and the government. The job of small business is to make money to spend it. The government job is to spend money
For sure.
beyond what you have, right? But that's not the whole idea. When you have unlimited time and resources, you're going to get fat and happy.
Yep. Yep.
When there's a scarcity, that's when you get intuitive.
Well, it's a need. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's the mother of invention kind of situation. And yeah, absolutely. You also have to give yourself some faith and have some trust that you can figure this out. That's another one is leave space to realize you got this. You can do this.
I get a kick out of business owners. They get in business with nothing, and they're like, "Man, I just want to make like $100,000." And they scrape and scrape and scrape. All of a sudden, they're making $100,000 a year, right? And now they're like, "Oh, I want to get to 150 or 200, but I don't want to spend any of that 100 I have to get
Yeah.
to 150 or 200." It's like, well, hold on, you risked everything, which wasn't much, to get to 100. Now all of
Yeah.
a sudden, you're living a little fat and happy. Now you're going to stop risking. It's like, if you want safety and security, go get yourself a job. Job. That's where you
Yeah.
get safety
Yep.
and security.
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
listen, right? Like you quit your job. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go follow this lady. I'm gonna take her advice. I'm gonna learn about her program, her methodologies or modologies,
That's it.
and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna go out and go hawk customers. I'm going to
Yep.
find customers. I'm going to create value. Hell, I'm
That's
going
it.
to randomly email this guy who has a podcast and see if he'll let me spit my language and
That's
my
it.
knowledge for an hour. It's like, right?
That's it.
Versus like, hey, I'm going to sit on my couch and wait for the phone to ring because
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like,
And
well,
that's
that
just
doesn't work.
because it's living in fear. It's like at that
Yes.
point you're so afraid you're not doing anything. And it's like, yeah, there's faith and trust and hope in just getting out there, like you said, and just doing.
Yeah. And when you want that, when I tell this to people all the time, when you want that safety and security of a paycheck and a guaranteed salary,
Yeah.
go get a job. Well, I don't
And the
want
other
that
thing
either.
that
Okay. Well, one of these two things have to give.
yeah.
One of the two things.
The other thing that causes people not to go into action is just fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and fear of making a mistake. People are always so
Mm-hmm.
precious about mistakes. And it's like, this is what we learn from when you're,
Mm-hmm.
2.5, you face plant a lot, but then you get up and and then you just start walking. And eventually we figure this out. And it's
Yep.
like, but we're so worried about making a mistake in business. Some of my best learnings have come from things that I didn't do right the first time. And then I realized, okay, there's a different way to do this.
One of my favorite acronyms I heard years ago, right? FAIL is first attempt in learning. That's it,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Also, in my book, we eliminate, there's 13 words or phrases we eliminate called shit
Yeah.
words that do not serve.
I
Mistake is
love
one of
that.
them, right? A
Yeah, I
mistake is
love
not,
that.
you made a choice
Yeah.
and the choice did not go as predicted. It's not
Yes, yes.
favorable or unfavorable, positive or negative. Nope. I anticipated this outcome. I asked the girl to prom. My anticipated outcome was yes. She
Exactly.
said no. Okay. It wasn't a mistake. It was a
At all.
choice,
No, it took courage
right?
to do that.
You
Yeah.
made the choice. And you know what? Like Jordan Peterson talks about, right? When he talks about men that are struggling with confidence, he goes,
Yes.
you got to go out and ask 100 women for their number
That's
to
it.
get
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might get one or two. You might get 50. You might get
Yeah.
none.
Just
It
get
has
used
nothing
to
to do with,
failing.
get used to failing. This other guy, I can't remember his name offhand. He's a guy, he's on social. He always wears a breathe strip.
Oh God, I know
I
you're
want to say
talking
it
about.
was long hair, bearded
Yeah.
guy. Looks kind of
Yeah.
like a ripped Jesus.
Yeah.
What if I type in "ripped Jesus"? It'll come up. Anyhow, he said I heard this. I heard this over the weekend. We are
Gonna
talking
kill
about
me.
salespeople. I think he was
Yeah.
talking to Dave Ramsey. He was talking to some. Is it Alex Ramosi? Ramosi? Is that who it is? I'm gonna
That's
Google
it.
this
It's
real quick. All
Hermosi.
right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
There you go. Rip Jesus. Put that
Yeah.
shirt. Anyways, this is what he said. I'll quote him warmly and accurately, even if I don't know his
Absolutely.
fucking name.
Rip Jesus.
Anyways, Rip Jesus. He said the best salespeople in his company. He's like, I'm a good salesperson. He goes, the best salespeople in my company are
Yeah.
hot women that
Yes.
can deal with rejection. Because
Yes.
their
Yes. Yes.
confidence is at a 10,
Yes.
and a lot of people that are good looking aren't
Yeah.
used to being rejected. So they
Yeah.
crumbled a bit. So he's like, nope, give me a hot woman that can
Yes.
deal with rejection. She'll be your best salesperson. It's like, wow,
Well,
like
and
the
also it's your
predisposition.
mindset within the sale process, because if you're
Yep.
going to that hot woman and you're saying, please, will you go to the prom with me? What you've done is you've made your entire self-image about whether she says yes or not.
Yep.
And the truth is that you're fine whether she says yes or not. It
Nope.
makes no difference. You're just seeing, do what you want line up with what I want? And if no, then oh my God, there's tons of other people that will.
And on the personal side, for the record, I asked dozens of girls to prom, maybe hundreds, because
Oh
I
yeah.
lacked confidence and I was goofing about it. And finally, a girl asked me, and I was like, all right, yeah, let's go. Right? Because I put myself out there enough. Right?
Yes.
And she was like student council class president, and she had like all this shit going for her.
Yep.
And I went with her. We ended up being runner up for prom king and queen. Because at that point they're like, oh wait, you were being serious? Because I was being a whatever fucking 17-year-old dude or
Sure.
fucking
Sure.
stoner kid.
Like we do.
Hey, you want to go to prom with me? Yeah, I know. I'd put it like now they like do fucking TikToks and fucking signs and
Oh, I have
flowers.
no idea.
This
Yeah.
this was like, hey, who's near my locker that isn't dating someone? Last name's Weins. Who's got a W? What's going on? How you doing?
Love it.
There's some truth behind that.
Yeah.
But right, like so, deal with that rejection. And
Yeah.
so different in business. We're talking about this for a sales guy. Historically, numbers wise,
Yes.
historically, I go back 8 years. We close 66% of our leads. It's somewhere between 64 and 68%, blended average.
That's impressive.
So with that in mind, let's not focus on those 1/3 of leads that fall off. We know they're going to
Exactly.
fall off. Get the
Exactly.
phone to ring 3 times, and 2 of the 3 of those people are your customers.
Love that.
Historically, also, dollars wise, we close about half of the dollars that we have leads wise. So it's like,
Those are
yes,
good ratios.
yeah, the lower the price point, the
Mhm.
higher likelihood we're going to close. The higher the price point, the lower likelihood it's going to close. Once you understand the math, it's no longer
Mhm.
about the one that got away. Like people say, oh, I lost this big sale. You never fucking had it. You thought you had it. It was never there. Right?
Yeah.
The job ain't there until you walk in. I got a customer I'm chasing for money right now. It's a shit situation. It's like, I lost the money. I didn't lose the money. I spent the money doing the job. I haven't got paid for it yet. Now, I'm
Mm.
irritated as hell. We're chasing the guy, right? And that's part of business. It's like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a mindset shift. I didn't lose the sale. It was never ours. We just didn't know that
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
Right? When you tell someone a price and they're like, not a chance in hell, buddy, and hang up, you're like, okay, problem solved. When someone's like, yeah, come tomorrow, and then we show up to their house and they're like, oh yeah, I had somebody else do it already,
Yeah.
or nope, actually we decided to do it ourselves. It's the same thing. The
Yes.
difference was when
Yes.
we found out that they weren't our customer, because they're not our customer, right? We protect our house. It is a privilege. It is a privilege to be our customer, and not
Yeah.
everybody's our customer. And
Yeah.
people that call
Exactly.
us, we don't know, we don't, and they don't know that they're not our customer until we do some conversation to discovery.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of you, who are your ideal customers? Who are people that can say, "Yep, Charles is my guy"? What does that person look like?
So it's people that realize that there's more to business than just the mechanics of the business. That this is particularly for entrepreneurs. This is a game of you and you. And so
Mm.
if you're feeling like you're ready to kind of have another look at things, that there's more that's possible in terms of your life, nobody's going to come into coaching unless they believe there's more possible. But if you have this nagging feeling that you're feeling a little burned out, that it's not quite working, that this could be better, then that's a perfect time to talk.
And who's not your customer?
Um, Someone like you said who thinks they know it all, who's not willing to, make mistakes. Um, someone
Choices,
who's
choices.
someone who's an employee and is just very happy to be an employee and do that. I mean, there's ways of being an entrepreneur within a company,
Yep.
but usually the people who are hungry enough to have their own business are also hungry enough to do their own inner work.
Yeah, I look at same thing. I talked earlier about being a fractional CFO. I've been a
Yeah.
consultant through the years. I
Yeah.
never have claimed to be a coach, right?
Mm,
I look at right consultants solve problems. I will deal with the mechanicals and I can do that and lean into it,
yeah.
while coaches are working on the person.
Yeah.
And like if you get inspired or motivated behind something I said, awesome.
Yeah.
Not my primary mission. And there are
Right.
other people, like my coach is truly a coach. I
Yeah.
mean, we do the inner work. We talk about my personal life, my personal
Love it.
relationships, where things
And
are
that's what
coming
I
from.
do. That's it,
You
man.
know, I mean, one of the things he said to me 2 years ago now, I was going through a breakup. And of course, that's like, we're not talking business that day because that's top of mind.
Of course. Of
And he
course.
let me go on for 45 minutes about all the problems that she is and was. And he goes, okay. He goes, where's your DNA?
Mhm.
Where's your fingerprints? What are the contributing factors that you brought? I'm like, oh, shit. Right? Because like Jordan Peterson says, like,
Look what
yeah,
time it is.
maybe,
I think we're done.
yeah, it's like maybe she is 99% of the problem. And yet
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
1%. Well,
Yeah.
right? You do enough research, you realize you're probably on 50%. Because with
Oh,
two
yeah.
people, you're
Oh, yeah.
50% responsible. Right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then you can say, maybe it wasn't the right relationship and they're not the right person.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure.
However, what did you do to exasperate it? What did you do?
Exactly.
Right? And you,
Exactly.
I mean me. What did I do?
Of
Right?
course.
Same with business. When something goes to shit, like, what did I do wrong that led to me throwing a coffee cup? Right?
From
Like,
Yeah, man. From
maybe it was,
25 years of coaching, I realized
yeah.
that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So
Oh,
if there's something you're doing in your marriage or your partnership that's not working, it's probably what you're doing in your business too. So if you can heal that in your
yep.
marriage, you can heal that in your business and vice versa.
So I had a business partner years ago. He was a guy, Ivy League guy, wicked smart guy. and he goes, he told me this after the fact because he's
Mm.
like, hey, let's go out and get drinks. We're at the bar,
Yeah.
and, and I drank at the time. I no longer consume alcohol. Anyways, went to the bar. And we're just sitting there chatting. And we went to like, it was like I was in Philadelphia like 3 or 4 days. So we went to a bar or a restaurant every night for 2 or 3 days. I thought nothing of it. I'm like, all right, we're just getting burgers, we're getting food. I had the waitress, I had the bartender. Maybe we knew some people, and that was that.
Yeah.
And like a month later, 2 months later, next time I saw him, he was telling me the story about how they were about to do this big deal. And this is before we were business partners. This is when we were still in the flirting stage, if you will.
Yeah.
How they were about to do this big deal with a guy who they knew was married, and they went to the bar, and he would hit on and flirt with every single woman that came in earshot. And as
Yeah.
soon as they walked away, he would talk about them to other guys that are like, buddy, we don't even know you. And their whole
Yeah.
thing was, if you're willing to cheat on your wife, you're probably willing to cheat on us in business.
That's it, man.
And so he told me that he goes, one thing about you, Andy, he goes, you were nice enough to people, like we were there for business. You focused on business, right? And so
Yep.
to your point of how you do one thing is how you do everything. I've even made it to a point where now in my professional life, I don't go to the bars with people, right? I never even give people, we'll go to a restaurant or something, right?
Yep.
I never give people the opportunity to even remotely put this idea that I'm not an upstanding person,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I quit
Mhm.
drinking a while. I quit drinking about a year, almost 2 years ago now.
Good for you.
It was a personal choice, right? And so I
Yeah.
was like, well, I've eliminated that temptation, and it's consistent with my business life. I eliminate temptations in business, or I eliminate things that do not serve me in business, and that's consistent with my personal life. So it's like,
That's just intelligent. That's
yeah,
yeah.
right. Love me or hate me, I'm pretty fucking consistent, right? One of the best compliments I get from people that only watch me on social media or watch the podcast is like, oh, you're exactly who I thought you were going to be, or you're exactly who you are on social. It's like, well, yeah, it's me. It's like, yeah,
That's integrity. I mean, that's the
there's a camera,
definition.
there's lights, and we're just like,
Yes.
when I say, hey, I'm going to hit the record button and we're going to start chatting, that's it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
anyways,
Yes. Yes.
this hour has flown by.
It sure has.
What did we not cover that you wanted to cover?
Oh, it feels pretty complete, man. I mean, I feel pretty good about. There's nothing I can think of we didn't cover at this point.
Okay, I like it. I love meeting new people. I love having conversations.
Same
I
here.
love seeing perspectives. I do a podcast right before this where it's me and the camera, and it's good. I enjoy it, and this allows me to feel people out and share ideas that might serve you and might serve me, and that's
Absolutely.
huge. So no, I appreciate your time.
Likewise.
Let's go to the big finish. What was your top takeaway from today's show?
That every business, the same principles apply no matter what your business is. And it's like for trash talk, for trash removal, waste removal business, it's like, oh my God, or junk removal, sorry, business. All the same coaching principles apply because we're still humans. It's still business. It's the same thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I love how you came in with this soft analytical mindset. I love the fact you brought up psychology. That was my top takeaway. That at the end of the day, we can talk data, we can talk numbers all day without doing the inner work. All we're going to do is we're going to chase symptoms and never address the problem. I also like the fact you said love on the problem, right? I'm the starve it, right? Take it out back and shoot it when you can, or starve it.
I started that way, and that's how I treated myself. And it was just at some point it was like, I'm not sure this is working as well as I hoped it would.
And actually it's very much the 5 love language, or the 4 love language is the 5th.
Yeah.
Right. It is hey, it's there, right? Like, you picked up these things, you were domesticated by society, right? You can either be heaven on earth, and you can either be the love,
exactly,
right? Or you can be the hate. And so, you know what? For those parts of you that do not serve you, for the parts of you that you wish would go away, you know what? Love on them a little bit, right?
Because they're all trying to be helpful to you. At the end of the day, even if part of you that's stuck at 7 years old is still trying to be useful, and it's our job as an adult to be like, no, that's great, but this is better than that.
I like it. All right, this has been an awesome episode. This is the beautiful thing about not doing research. We walk in. I'm very consistent. I always joke on the show about how I don't do any show prep. I talk about how we just hit the button because I want it to be like
it's very improvisational, and it's funny. I took an improv class once. The first thing the guy said on day 1 is, "I'm going to teach you guys to fail."
Good.
He's like, you got to get comfortable with failing. And improv, you try something. If it sucks, you move on.
Yep. Yeah. Joe Rogan, like a couple months ago, he did a brand new set in just terrible, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that didn't work. Right? Here's the guy with the biggest podcast in the world, doesn't have to do a thing. And he went out there, wrote his jokes, went out there and failed. And was like, and he joked about it. He's like, dude, I bombed. Right?
Yeah.
And other comedians like, it happens. And the audience was probably like, I want my money back. Like, that sucked. And it's like, okay. Like, that's Neil Young did that years ago. Neil Young, back when it was like MTV Unplugged, he had a shitty set. And he's like, I fucked up. Let me come back. And they let him come back.
Wow.
Neil Young. No big deal.
Cool.
All right. Anyways, there you go. Failure. Fail. First attempt in learning. We had our takeaways. We did all the things. Let's talk about next week and the weeks coming up. Eric Ship. Eric with a Q, longtime listener. Did not pop in today. He normally pops in to the show. Eric Ship. Eric with a Q is coming on the show next week. I know nothing about him other than the fact that he's a listener. Looking forward to that. December 3rd, I actually have a guest in-house. Chuck It. Junk removal. They're going to be in studio in-house. They're coming in that week to do some roundtable work, some CFO work. So I'm looking forward to them. And then December 10th, our good friend Barry from 505 Junk Removal and the Bolt Accelerator. He is back for the Barry Quarterly. I don't even know what we're calling this thing yet. Barry has a $5 million business and I don't. So we could probably all learn something from Barry. 17 years in the hustle. Bold Accelerator, he has a round table. So he's the guy that talks to other people with junk removal companies to grow them from $1 to $5 million. So we'll have Barry for his quarterly session. I appreciate all the guests we have coming up. You want to be a guest? So I think we're booking into late December and even into January now. We are going to take a hiatus. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and the following Tuesday. Yep. I got shit going on. Life shit. So we're going to take about a 3-week hiatus over the winter, a little winter refresh. And then we will kick things back in January, kind of like we did the reset in July. I think we took a couple weeks off. And you know what? We'll get back to it. That's the key. And that gives everybody else a chance to catch up to episodes, a chance to refresh and reset your minds. And then we'll get back to what we do every week. Charles, any last words before we depart today's adventure?
No, just other than gratitude. Thank you for having me on. If people want to find me on the web, they can find me at charlesrose.coach. And yeah, that's it.
Excellent. We'll have Taylor put up the links in the bio. Charles, stick around for a second so everything gets uploaded, and then we will close out the show from there. Sounds all right. Great. On behalf of Taylor, our producer, Charles Rose, our great guest, I'm Andy Weins, and this has been another great week of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.